have a big job ahead of us today. We are a little behind, so we need to finish practice test 1, and then we want to get all the way through practice test 2, which I know we can do it. Right? So, here we go. We are ready according to my records for practice test 1, number 11, which is simply a division problem. There is nothing tricky about it except one little thing. What is the little tricky thing? Well, in the box for sure is going to go a -1 because we always put the opposite of what's in the parentheses. But what's tricky? There's no x cubed, which means we're going to have to put in a 0. Everybody look up here, see that 0? Make sure you understand why I put that 0 where I put it.
Yes.
And now I'm just going to do my regular division. Having a 0 there doesn't change the way I do that. Oops, got a little ahead of myself. Now we need a quotient and a remainder. What's the remainder? That's easy. What's the remainder? -12. So you can just write -12. If you want to write -12 over x plus 1, that's fine, but it's okay just to put -12. All the rest of it is the quotient. So what does this represent?
X squared.
Not x squared. X cubed. Why is it x cubed? Usually in our problems it's been x squared. The original was x to the 4th this time. So when we divide, it goes down by 1. So since it was x to the 4th, this is x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 10. And that's it. That's the division. Okay? If x plus 2 is one factor of this thing, find the other factors. This was one of the very last things in our notes last time. How do we do this problem?
You take the last one, -18, find its variables.
Okay, now, what Scout wants to do is do the PRRs and start guessing and all that. We can do that, but it's easier than that because they already told us one of the answers, right? So Scout, I'm not going to guess. I'm going to use -2 because they told me -2 would work. Do you see that? X plus 2, that means -2 works. So I'm going to go ahead and divide that out. Now, if you want to do what Scout said, it will work. But you'll be guessing, and it could take you a long time. So since they told me -2 works, I'm just going to do it. And sure enough, it does, just like they told me. So what's left? What's left is x squared minus 8x minus 9. And remember, kids, your job was to find the other factors. So what are the other factors? X.
Is that to add -8, no? Oh. -9 plus 1.
-9 plus 1, there we go. There are the other 2 factors.
Can you review on how, like, there's a certain amount of factors that we guess, like which factors guess?
Yeah, when we get to another problem, we'll do that, okay? That was in a couple other problems on the practice test. All right, last one on this one. Number 13. The height of a ball above the ground at time t is given by this equation. Find when the ball reaches its height. Now, right there, kids, is the key to the problem. I want you to think about this. This isn't, well, it's a t, but it's like an x. It's an x squared problem. What is the shape of x squared problems? They're parabolas. But this one has a negative out in front of it, which means it's opening down. So we have a situation where we have a parabola opening down, and we want to know about its maximum. Isn't the maximum the vertex if it's opening down? And how do we find the vertex? We have a little formula for it. X equals negative b over 2a. So x equals negative b over 2a. So my x coordinate, or actually it's a t, my t coordinate is a 1. How do I get the other one? Plug it in. So I have negative 16 times 1 plus 32 times 1 minus 4. So that adds up to 12. Now, if the question said find the vertex, you got it. But it doesn't. It says find when the ball is at the top. So is the answer 1 or 12? It's 1. T, isn't this your x right here, guys? And T is time. H is height. So this is 1 second and 12 feet. So if the question is, when does the ball reach its highest point? The answer is 1 second. The question could be, how high does the ball go? Then the answer would be 12, right? You do the same math, it's just which number you pick. X is the time, Y is the height. All right, practice test 1. Here we go on practice test 2. Remember, we have different orders on different versions. So on practice test 2, we have the same situation. Everybody looking at practice test 2? All right, so we want a maximum, which means we want the vertex. So how do we find the vertex again? Negative b over 2a. So this time x is 2. So here's your parabola, opening down, x is 2. How do we find the y? Plug it in. So that's going to be negative 16 times 4, 2 squared, plus 64 times 2 plus 6. Do you have a calculator to help you if you need it? I'm getting 70. So it's all about the question. What question are we actually being asked? Find the maximum height of the ball. Height is the y coordinate. Makes sense, right? Up, height. So what's the answer to the question? How high is the ball? 70 feet. These are always feet and seconds if that equation's being used. So 70 feet. What does the 2 tell me? What's that 2 mean? That's when it reaches its highest point. So after 2 seconds, it's at its highest point. Perfect. All right, number 2. All right, here we go. If this is a factor of this, find the other factors. We just did this, who remembers, what are we gonna do? What's our strategy? We're gonna divide. And for problem number 2, what's gonna go in the box? Positive 3. 1, negative 17, 15. When it says this is a factor, you better get a 0. We did. Okay, what do I do now? We just did this. What's this stand for? X squared plus 4x minus 5. And now, since our job is to find the factors, we'll factor that. So I heard somebody say x plus 5, x minus 1. So the question is, what are the other factors? Right there they are. Those are the other factors. Number 3, synthetic division. So you're not factoring or doing anything with this one, you're just plain dividing. So what's gonna go in the box for problem number 3? A positive 1. Now remember, I'm going to try to trick you, just like I did on here. So be careful. What am I gonna write out along here? 4, 0, negative 3, 0, 9, and 2. Every power's gotta be there. And if it's not, you're putting in a 0 where it belongs. Everybody got it? Okay, divide, just divide. The zeros don't impact the division. Just go ahead and do your normal division. Hopefully correctly. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake. Would somebody who did it confirm this is what you got too? Alright, so we need the quotient and we need the remainder. The remainder's easy. The remainder is 12. All the rest of it is the quotient. Pay attention, you started with x to the 5th, the original problem. So when you start writing your quotient, what are we gonna have to do? Go down 1, so it's going to be 4x to the 4th plus 4x cubed plus x squared plus x plus 10. They're actually, on the test, I didn't on this, you're right, on the test, there will be a blank for quotient and a blank for remainder. I didn't put it on this one. Otherwise, you're right, Scout. All right, everybody got that okay? All right, now we're gonna write our own equation. Okay, so we haven't done this today yet. This is the first one today, but we did a bunch of these the other day. So can somebody tell me how I get started on this?
Write out your x's in parentheses and plug in your x.
So she's saying write out your factors. And remember, every dot on the x-axis, only the dots on the x-axis are going to give you a parentheses. So what are the parentheses going to be? X
Plus 2
plus 2.
squared.
Oh wait, I'm not there yet, but you're right, Scott. X minus 3, x minus 5. Here's what's gonna make the A students the A students. The A students are gonna stop right here and say, look at that. that means that factor is squared. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, doesn't it happen here too? So that factor is squared. You have to slow yourself down and look at the problem with those squares there. Now, the only thing missing is that leading coefficient, whatever it might be. How am I going to figure out what it is?
Plug in the one constant.
Plug in the other point. Notice, this never shows up down here. Only these dots go here. That one is the y and the x that I plug in to find my n. So every y is 6, there's only one y, and then all the x's are 1s. And now I do the math. So what's 1 plus 2? 3 squared, 9. 1 minus 3, negative 2. 1 minus 5, negative 4 squared is 16. And these are all multiplied together. So you can use your calculator if you want to multiply those together. So 6 equals negative 288n. So n equals negative 6 over 288, which reduces to negative 1 over 48, negative 1 over 48. That's a lot of work we just did right there, but that is not the answer. Don't put that in the answer blank. The answer is the equation with that number plugged in, right? That's the answer. All right, good deal on that page. Let's see what's next. All right, so this is what you were asking about, Kashad. It says list the possible rational roots. Possible rational roots. PRRs. Possible rational root. PRRs.
1, 2, 4.
So what are they?
1, 2, and 4.
They're plus or minus the factors of 4, which are 1, 2, and 4, 4, 2, and 1, whatever order you want to put them in, doesn't matter, over factors of the leading coefficient, which is just 1, which is good. Okay? Those are the PRRs. Find the roots. Okay, so what do we have to do? Guess one, plug it in, or divide it out and see if it works, right? So I don't know. Let's see, we have 1, 2, negative 6, negative 4. What do you want to try? 2. Ah, nice guess. Now, chances are some of you are going to guess a number and it doesn't work, so then you'll just turn around and guess another one, right? Okay, where do we go from here? It's the directions say find the roots. So one of the roots is 2. The one you guess that gives you 0, that's one of your roots. Where are the other ones coming from, Alex?
The 4 and the 2, so it'd be x squared plus 4x minus 2.
Actually, I think it's plus 2, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah.
You're exactly right. We look at what's left after we divide, and your other answers are going to come from this. Now, what makes this a little bit different, though, than the other one that we did? That does not factor. Shoot, what do we do if it doesn't factor? The quadratic formula. If you have an x squared equation, guys, you can always solve it using the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus, what do we got under there? 8. The square root of 8 is 2 radical 2. Jacob! You feel okay? Alright. Anybody notice anything about that?
Take out 2 from all of
You
it.
can take out a 2 from all of it, so you need to do that. So you're gonna have negative 2 plus or minus, that's gone, root 2, that's gone. So my other two answers are negative 2 plus or minus root 2. Now, if you put that over 1, it wouldn't be wrong. Certainly you can do that. Don't need to, don't need it, but you can do it. Now, it's been a long time, but there was one exactly like that on the other practice test we did. So my guess is you're going to have to use the quadratic formula at some point on the test. So if you have forgotten it, never learned it, whatever, figure it out. All right, number 6, factor and sketch. Okay, do you have your eyes open here? Look at this problem and tell me if you notice anything about it.
You can factor by grouping.
You can factor by grouping. Now, could we also do the PRR thing and guess and divide and all that? Yes, but that's gonna take longer. If I don't ask you to list the PRRs, then they aren't necessary. They're okay to use if you want, but they're not necessary. This one is factorable by grouping. So take out an x squared, take out a negative 4. And sure enough, didn't that work? So I have x plus 5. And then what's the other parentheses gonna be? My common one is x plus 5. What's the other one?
X squared minus
X squared minus 4. Ding, ding,
Difference of
ding.
squares.
X squared minus 4 is
x plus 2, x minus 2.
x plus 2, x minus 2. That happens every time, it seems. So there are the factors. The direction said factor and sketch. So now we're ready to sketch it. Where are the dots gonna go?
Negative 5, 2, and negative 2.
Yep, negative 5, 2, and negative 2. Any bouncing going on in this problem?
No.
Nope, it's just a straight, regular old cube. Looks like that. Gary, okay? All right, now we're gonna sketch one. This one's easier because you don't have to factor, it's already factored. You just have to sketch it. So where do we start?
The top.
Well, the first thing I do, I see what you mean, how do I even begin this graph?
Pull up the
So
point.
first I'm going to
Count the x's.
put my x-intercepts at 1, negative 4, and 3. Would everybody agree with that? And then I'm gonna think about what Olivia just said. Here are your choices. You're gonna start down here, or you're gonna start up here. That's it. That's how it's gonna start. And what does that depend on?
Even or
The number of x's that you have, right? So how many x's do we have? Count them all up, what do we got? 5 x's?
first of all,
5 is odd. Odd always starts down. So we're gonna come up like this. There are 5 x's in this problem. X is an odd, or 5 is an odd number, so I'm starting at the bottom. What is the only time an x to the 5th would start up here?
negative.
If there's a negative out in front, because a negative turns it upside down from normal. Okay, what's it do when it hits that -4?
It goes through.
It goes right through it and joins to the next point. What's it do when it hits that one?
Bounce.
It bounces and joins to that one. What does it do when it hits that one?
Bounce.
Bounces and heads up into space. These problems look a lot harder than they are, for sure. All right, number 8. Pressure varies inversely as volume. Here are your 2 choices. P equals KB, P equals K over V. Those are the only 2 possible setups. Which one do I want if pressure varies inversely as volume?
K over.
Can't be.
K over. I want this one. This one is direct. And that will be the only difference in the problem. It will say varies directly, varies inversely. If the pressure is 80, the volume is 16. I'm just plugging in my numbers. Find the pressure when the volume is 40. Now, this number right here is going to ultimately be your answer. But in order to figure that out, don't we need to know what K is? So we can take K divided by 40? So look up here, can we figure out what K is? Isn't K gonna be 16 times 80? Which, I don't know what that is.
1280.
1,280. That's K. So P equals 1,200, or 1,280 divided by
32.
40, which is got it? Know these 2 setups. One problem on the test like this, just one, it's either gonna be direct or inverse. All right, number 9. List the possible rational roots. So here we go, shot again, this is what you were talking about. So the PRRs are going to be plus or minus, always plus or minus. Plus or minus what? Factors of 8, which are 8, 4, 2, and 1, over factors of 1.
Where did you get the 1 from?
Leading coefficient. All right, what do we do now?
You put 1 in and
Now we start guessing. Melissa, you okay, sweetie? Okay, well, put your head up. It's harder to fall asleep if you're sitting up. Jacob, take your coat off. Do you have a lanyard on? Good, take your coat off. We don't wear coats in the building. behavior. We got an email that we're not enforcing uniform enough. That's not uniform culture, right? No, you have something on underneath it, okay. All right, so here we go. Oh yeah, I'm ready to guess. Anybody guess one while I was messing around? What? 2? 2 seems to work a lot. You might want to put that in the back of your head. Doesn't always work, but we sure have had good luck with it. Okay, where do I go from here?
X squared plus 5x.
X squared plus 5x plus 4.
Factor x plus 4, x
Take your coat off. It isn't uniform. I might be convicted of child abuse here in a minute. Okay. Does that thing factor? X plus 4 plus 1?
plus 4, x plus 1, x
So the other factor was x minus 2. Did it say that? Yep, find the factors. So these 2 came from this right here, right? Do you understand where this one came from?
You always flip it from positive to negative.
Huh?
You flip it, it's positive to negative.
It's always the opposite. Always the opposite. Always the opposite. Okay, now I have to sketch it. So this is what I'm sketching now, right here. So how do I begin this process of sketching?
Label the points.
So I've got a -4, a -1, and a 2. That 2 is the one I guessed. Anything squared or anything weird happening?
No.
Nope, just connect them. So go through, connect, go through. And there is your sketch. Okay? Number 10, cross it off. That's the one you're not required to do. Cross it off. Number 11, this is the yes or no. If it's a no, explain. So let's do what we did last time. Are there any yeses? B is a yes. And all you have to do is write yes. What else? E is a yes. E is a yes. And there is actually one more yes. C is a yes. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you say, well, it can't be, there's a radical in there.
5 is under that.
But remember, the rule is no X under the radical. You can have radicals, you just can't have X's under them. So D would be a no. D is a no because no X under the radical is allowed, right? Everybody see the difference between C and D? I'm being tricky again. All right. What's wrong with A? Can't have an X in the denominator. So let's run through the rules again. Can't have an X in the denominator. Can't have an X under the radical. Can't have a negative exponent. Can't have a fractional exponent. I didn't say you can't have a fraction. I said you can't have a fractional exponent. Got it? Okay. Number 12. Write the equation of the line. So we went over this last time really carefully. when they tell you f of 1 is 4 and f of 3 is 8, that is two ordered pairs. 1 comma 4, 3 comma 8. Function notation is f of x. So x is the number in the parentheses. So 1 comma 4, 3 comma 8. What do we need to do to write the equation of a line? We need to find the slope. Okay? Slope is y over x. Right? I'm not being nice about this anymore. If you screw up the slope, you're losing half credit period. No matter what. Slope is y minus y over x minus x. So it looks like my slope is 2, if I do the arithmetic right. Now what? I'm doing a line, I'm writing the equation of a line.
Or the one with the ordered pairs.
Pick a point, I'll just pick that one. Y minus 4, y minus the y equals slope times x minus the x. Alright, that's what I got too. Let me get that and see if I made a mistake. Does that look okay to everybody? Okay, now, these two problems, 12A and 12B, they're both part of number 12, but they are totally different. A was write the equation of a line, and I knew that because the word linear was in the problem, right? So that was a line, that's a slope and all that. This is different, this is a quadratic, which means that my equation is going to be some version of this. It's a parabola, a quadratic function, a parabola. This is a BFF, and you know this is what it looks like. That vertex is at the origin. This vertex has gone right 3 and up 1. So now my parabola looks like this, according to the problem. How do I reflect that in the equation? What do I do to my equation so that the vertex isn't at the origin? The vertex would be here.
Parentheses minus 3.
So y equals parentheses x minus 3 squared.
Plus 1.
Doesn't that move it right 3? Always opposite, right? So x minus makes it positive 3. And then how do I get the plus 1 here, up 1?
Add 1 up.
Add 1 to the end. Think back to the last unit. Doesn't this move it 3 to the right and up 1? And that's what you wanted to do. So start with the vertex point and write the basics of your equation here. Now, the only thing missing is that number out in front again. Well, how are we gonna find that number?
Plug the container.
We're gonna take our contains point, always start with the vertex. The vertex numbers go into the equation. They're part of the equation. This guy, I just plug in for x and y in order to figure out what that number is right there. So -4 for x, 2 for y. PEMDAS, parentheses first, -4 minus 3,
-7.
-7 squared.
49.
So this is 49n plus 1. If you make that 50n, you'll be in trouble. It's not. You can't add those together. So I'll subtract the 1. solve that equation, divide by 49. So n is 149. Where do I put that?
Plug it in.
Back into the equation right here. 149. And that is what you're gonna put in the answer blank. All right? The only time you do slope is when it says line. Do not be finding slope over there. All right, one more problem to go. Or two, I guess it's a two-parter. Find the vertex axis of symmetry and direction of opening. All right, anybody remember this?
It opens up.
It opens up. And what about this one? It's also up. They're always up, unless what? There's a negative out here in front. If there's no negative, then it's up, period. You don't have to do any math, it's just up. All right, now what?
Negative b over 2a.
So x equals negative b over 2a. So for this first problem, x equals negative 6 over 2. So my axis of symmetry is literally x equals negative 3. Make sure you're including x equals. It's part of the formula. X equals negative 3. That means that your vertex has an x coordinate at negative 3. Right? How do I find the y? Plug in negative 3. So, negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3 minus 3. Did you get negative 13? Now, this one is exactly like the one we just did, so would you do this one on your own, see if you can get it? We already know it opens up. You're finding the axis of symmetry of the vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. Did you get x equals 2?
Yeah.
Now watch your signs, your SIGNs, positives and negatives. So your vertex is 2 comma something.
2 comma.
I got negative 12. Yep, that's what I got. You do that? You get that? All right, we just took the whole test and part of another one because we had to finish up the other one. I handed back a bunch of papers. Does anybody have a question about why you missed something on a homework paper or something that I turned back? Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
It says baby time on there.
All right.